but that's the thing, right? That's what was leading the segue there. And I'm really upset at young Daniel, Decisive Daniel,
Decisive
for not
Daniel,
recording
young
us on
Daniel.
talking about that. We're gonna try and reenact that again. Fuck. Simpsons, I can't tap, gives you resilience. I can't tap.
See, if you lacked the resilience, you would have tapped.
That is true. So
You
that's
had the resilience
that's discipline as well.
to the discipline to
Discipline.
not
Is
tap.
that racist?
Is that racist?
Wait, Daniel's Chinese. We gotta pass on that.
Good morning. It's morning when we're filming. Episode 3 of the GT Fit podcast. We have theme music. It's probably played already.
Yeah.
Daniel, you didn't play us our theme music.
Yeah.
So
Very upset with Daniel.
we're kind of on a downhill, but we're resilient, so we're going to bring it back.
But I
Yeah.
am gonna vent by bullying Daniel through the camera on this.
We also both feel awful today.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see my face is swollen. Hello, camera. I don't know if you can see how swollen my face is.
It's alright. You
Don't
always
make
look
it.
right on cue.
Yeah, but we're here because we're resilient.
How to see that we've worked together for X amount of years at this point. That was amazing. So yeah, resilience, I guess we're talking about, and hormones and things like
Resilience, hormones, how this impacts, especially at the beginning of your training, but just in general how it's impacting your life and how it's impacting people these days. There's a lot of misinformation that we're going to get into today, right?
Yes.
So let's get
Full
cracking.
disclaimer, I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert on hormones.
No.
I do have a little basic understanding. Well, not basic. I know how it works, but I'm not an endocrinologist, right?
You're
So
not.
all of this here is like our research and secondhand research and stuff like this. But this is like also stuff that we've practically data that has been collected through the gym and our experiences of what we know, reading blood works, working with naturopaths,
Yes.
et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, like the big thing I think we'll touch on is like resilience and just like how it affects people in navigating through their goals, mental toughness. But I want to look at it more from this perspective of like, why is there such a lack of resilience these days?
Yeah, that's
and what's causing it?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Hey, 'cause
So
I think
many-
there's so many things, but I think I think we have things a little too easy these days. We're in the era of convenience, so that resilience kind of doesn't get used. It's like a muscle that's not being trained, just like discipline as well, which we've had that chat. You need to train that discipline muscle, that resilience muscle. But, you know, if you've had a long day of work and you're really tired and dinner's not ready, what do you do now? You just order Uber Eats. You go to Uber Eats. A lot of people go to Uber Eats. They order the food instead of, you know, doing the task that needs to be done, which is cooking or cleaning or whatever it is. They leave it. And I think that's where the resilience starts to form.
You know what? I'm going to take a big step back here. Not to step on your toes there, Jordan, but I think if we look at it in a broader spectrum, I think that is like almost a symptom of what's happening into one degree here. So this is like a little bit of a different thing, but we'll go a little bit off topic, not even just related to fitness here. Like it's just, but it is related to kind of like what we're talking about. So I was watching something interesting last night about men in the workforce, right? So this is like if we look now from the 50s, I believe it was the 1950s versus now, there's about a 30% increase in prime aged men not working.
Whoa.
That's massive.
Interesting.
That's a really big one. Now, if you just look at like biology with men and how we work, our main thing is the traditional way. Like it is biology, unfortunately, this is the way it is. Men hunt, we provide.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing like a large dip in men not really having a sense of purpose these days. Because they're not, like, what's their reason to work? Like this will be a topic for another podcast maybe, but like in relationship aspects of things, what's happening, well, people aren't really interacting that much anymore. And we lost, like there's a large group of men that they don't have a reason to be strong or resilient.
Yeah.
Right? And I do believe in an element, like obviously on the women's side too, obviously it's a different sort of mental toughness and resilience that they have to build because they work in a different capacity to men. But I think like there's a repercussion of what's causing that then affects, like you think about it, right? If I don't have a reason to work or provide for a family, what reason do I have to care for myself?
Yeah, well, you do see like the men's mental health is a big thing that doesn't get looked at. Again, probably a whole other topic, but yeah, if you don't have any purpose, that does lead to feelings of depression.
Right, and so then as a byproduct, your decisions around food, sleep.
Yeah.
You see where it starts to unravel?
Yeah, well, if you don't have purpose, then why are you going to put effort into other things, right?
Mm.
It's like if you're just training without a goal, training without a plan,
Mm.
you know, everything around it, why are you going to put that extra effort in and go that extra mile if you don't really have something that you desire and that you're working towards?
Exactly.
You're just going through the motions.
Yeah, and so then like linking to what I just was talking about to like how that applies to the gym and stuff, it's pretty much everything. It's like what we've been talking about in the last couple of weeks as well too, about where people's mindsets are and what you're going to do to create fixed growth mindsets and all this and that. It all links from resilience. But what's interesting is that it's not so much directly what people aren't just resilient anymore. It's that they're actually being nullified. And I think like a big one here is because of how we're living, and then as a byproduct, the symptoms that causes around decision making, around food and just health in general. But then it also would look at things like, excuse me, can't breathe, the food quality.
Yeah, food quality is a massive issue.
Right, and how that links to like resilience, like things that we don't talk about is like, well, we do talk about it, we talk about it a lot, but it doesn't get talked about enough in, I'd say, mainstream media at all. Is like, for example, like pesticides on food.
Yeah, all over everything.
Oh, I mean, I'll read out some foods. I got a little list here, right? Just general foods that are heavily sprayed that will be can cause endocrine disruptions to the body. And it's pretty shocking because it's like, look, we got strawberries, spinach, kale, apples, grapes, peppers, tomatoes, potatoes, celery, cherries, pears, meats and dairy, like
all the healthy stuff.
All the healthy stuff, right? And so that begs the question, well, what do you eat?
Yeah, well, berries are one that's heavily sprayed. That's a big one where you really need to go organic. But, on that, I think if we take a step back from there, when you look at health, and especially when you look at weight loss and people are embarking on that sort of journey, there's two big arguments that you see online. It's the calories in, calories out model, and there's hormones. Yep. So that's like, you need to be in a deficit to lose weight. Yes. You need to eat towards your hormones to be healthy. Yes. The problem is, for some reason, these two clash. Where really they should be coming together, because both are important. Yes, you can't lose weight unless you're in a deficit, but also if your deficit is comprised of foods like on that list that you mentioned, like foods that are genetically modified, poor food quality, a lot of takeaway food, things like that, sure, you'll lose weight, but are you a healthy individual? Do you feel energized? What's going on with your blood work? You're probably not healthy, even though you're losing weight.
Well, that's also a big one too, because like based off the foods here, like these are good foods. I mean, all food is good.
Yes.
It's how it's produced and handled, which is the issue here. And this is where like a lot of people, you see they're doing the right thing, but they're not being rewarded with the goal, because it's like, well, hey, you are eating these foods, but how, like, these are actually affecting a lot of what's happening underneath the surface, and what you're saying there with hormones and how it actually links with your calories there.
Yeah.
So it can be kind of confusing. That's why I kind of want to like shed a bit of light on like how to navigate through that. But also within mind keeping how this directly affects mental resilience along the way, right? Like, was there anything else you want to keep going before I jumped in there?
No. Like, I just think it's interesting that those two sides have to kind of combat each other when really
it's together.
You could just have your food quality, address your hormones, plus be in that caloric deficit if your goal is weight loss, and you can enjoy the process and still have pizza and things like that as well. You can build to a point where you can have it all. It just takes some work. And I was going to say, it always stuck with this one experience always stuck with me. I met this lady, really nice lady at Fitness First when I was working there, and she had lost 30 kilos and she was eating 1,100 calories, and she was doing that for 2 years. And I just couldn't believe it. She was like, yeah, I've lost all this weight. I really feel amazing, but I'm looking at her. She has no energy. She's pale as. I'm like, so you've lost the weight. Now what? She's like, oh, my joints hurt. I can't do anything on the floor because I struggle to get back up. I have no energy. Oh, I don't really sleep. So it's like,
But I feel amazing, right?
well, was it worth the trade-off?
Yeah.
And how do you feel amazing? Like,
There is a
it
little
always
caveat
stuck with
there
me.
too. Sorry, just like what you said, like I feel amazing. How many times I hear that with people, and I'm like, what? Like, no, you don't. You don't know what amazing feels like.
You're lighter.
Yeah.
You're not
lighter.
healthier.
You're not healthier. Lighter.
And yeah, poor
That's a
lady,
good
like,
one. I like that.
was just misled. And I always go back to that when I think, like, okay, if it was all about just calories in and out, this poor lady's
Yeah,
come out
exactly.
of it lighter, but with all these
So
problems.
what was her food like? Did you see what she was eating?
Oh man, she was eating basically salad and a little bit of protein with each meal,
Mm.
and then she would have her cheat meals, which were like little desserts, ice creams, things like that, because it was still within her calories basically.
Mm-hmm.
Not much real food, to be honest with you. Not much of anything.
Not much of anything.
Not much of anything, but you would see like she was very compromised.
So that's what it is, and that's like the big conversation I always have with people all the time is about, like, yeah, you're eating calories, but you're not getting any nutrients in you, right? And unfortunately, micronutrients and even macronutrients, they're essential. They're not optional, because this is what accumulates to hormonal production as a basic, not just that. There's a lot more to it than that. But yeah, I was kind of like looking too. Just want to see what she was eating, because sometimes like I've seen people as well too who are eating less calories, but they're eating them from really good sources, and they're not having the same effects as that.
Yes.
Right? Because there is times, like for example, like we've touched on in previous weeks, like if someone's dealing with bloating and high degrees of stress in life, cortisol's high, well, it's going to affect your ability to digest food. Having said that, there is times there where you have to back off calories with the client when you're rebuilding them and things like that. But if the quality is good, like I think Steph, who eats all organic food all the time,
Yeah.
I mean, her result is phenomenal. Every time she comes in, there's something different. But I mean, she's the only client I have really that is willing to go the full extra mile and go full organic, which isn't, I understand it's expensive.
It's kind of a passion to her as well.
It is a passion for her.
She's in the health field.
Yeah.
And she sees the investment, like she understands the investment into her health.
Yeah, but
sees the return.
having said that though, like if I see someone who is, let's say, shopping at big food places, just general places, right? Doing the same thing, they're not getting that same result.
Yeah, I agree.
That's one that's like, that's a hard conversation to navigate to people, because I'm like, how do I tell them, like, hey, you're eating the right things, but where you're getting it's terrible. And it's like, well, then where do I get it?
Well, look, I feel for people, because it's not easy in the sense of like there's too much information out there. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of conflicting information. So you think you're doing the right thing, but then you hear all these pesticides are on this food and this is poor quality. It's just like, well, how far do I have to go? How much do I have to sacrifice to get it? So then it's like you mentioned it last week. Paralysis by analysis.
Yep.
So like they're sitting there analyzing. Oh, is it even worth it in the end? This is too much. Too hard basket.
Yep.
Everything stays as it is. I think that's where people end up. And that's why it's so important to treat everyone as an individual and really explain things like what you're saying now about this list of foods. You can't just say, "Oh yeah, that doesn't work. Do this." Like you need to give some context and find what works for the person.
To give you more context too, just like we'll use an example, like a simple one it is a bit more common now. You will hear it thrown around as well too, especially. I actually have heard it thrown around in mainstream media a little bit now, but glyphosate, for example, like how does this affect, like what is it? What is it, for example, right?
Yeah.
So commonly used things: soybeans, vegans, corn, wheat, oats, and non-GMO crops, right? So just basically like the main thing of how the main issue it causes is reproductive issues. Has high risk of cancer, like breast cancer, and the big one it impacts is thyroid. Right,
Yeah.
Massively impacts thyroid.
But what is glyphosate? I think a bit of context around that.
So glyphosate's a pesticide they spray. Basically, I'm not sure if it's to preserve or is it to speed up the growth.
I believe it's to
I think
preserve.
it's
We'd have to fact check that one. But what I do know is it's banned in most countries. But
It's banned in most countries. The smart countries where they care about your health still. So Australia likes to. I'm going to go at you here a bit. Australia is a business. We like to sell off our country, and we don't really care about the quality of our crops or anything here. So we do use a lot of heavily sprayed chemicals on a lot of our foods that are banned in other countries because they're like, hey, this gives cancer to people. Let's not put it on our food.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why we're running into bloating as a very common thing with most people.
Yeah.
But again, you just look at where most of these foods are coming from. It is big food, and a lot of the reason that has happened is that they do hold farmers at ransom. They force them into doing this because they're like, oh, if you don't want to make the money, we're just not going to give it to you. We'll go somewhere else that will
go
do
down the road to the
work.
next person.
Yeah, that will do the dirty work.
Yeah.
And it is a supply and demand thing. I mean, because we market and advertise a specific type of foods, like a lot of sugary foods and stuff, there's a high demand to grow these crops to make. But therein lies the issue.
Yeah.
You can't play, for lack of a better word, you can't play God. You don't tamper with nature.
Yeah.
That's my thing. Just don't tamper with nature.
Mass production is a big problem, right? Like, of course, it's going to be different because things need to be a bit faster at the moment. But this is where, like, I think simple guidelines or advice you can follow with this to, I guess, avoid this as much as possible.
Yep.
Like getting I don't want to say wrong types of foods, but to steer yourself towards the better produced, higher quality food would be like shopping local, for instance. Like find a good butcher. Bresnahan's Mortel, that's our go-to. Find a good butcher that sources the meat properly, for example, or a fruit shop where you know it's mostly organic sort of stuff. Yes, you're going to pay a little bit more, but on top of that, you're going to enjoy the food a lot more as well.
On that, just with this is a good line. I can't remember this is a mark line. This one, sorry, but like, I mean, you're going to pay a bit more, but think what you're going to prevent in paying for in medication or hospital bills later in life that will accumulate. Because these, unfortunately, no one's immune to this. We always have this, it won't happen to me. These things will accumulate. This is the thing. Why there's no data on this? Because you would need to monitor someone's blood over like 10 to 20 years of micro dosages of increases and drops and whatnot. You can't monitor it.
There actually is data on this. I believe across 20 years, if you're avoiding investing in your health, now this could be going to the gym, getting a personal trainer. It could be buying organic, buying buying the right kind of supplements and investing, or overall just investing in preventative health.
Yep.
I believe it was over 20 years you end up spending 7 times more money because of the medication, surgeries, loss of income, things of that nature. So up front, it looks like more money, but in the long run,
it's not. It's an investment. It's literally an investment.
This is why you see your business type people, your CEO type people, these kind of people with that long term thinking. They kind of manage their health better because they have that mentality already of, I don't want just what's going to work in the short term. What's going to work long term for me? Right? And that's how they get ahead. And that mentality then ties over into their health.
Yep.
And then, you avoid the medication because medication is expensive. Surgeries are expensive. And you have to think of loss of income as well.
Because I think what people do, like, they look at the face value of the price and go, let's say, we'll have to pay medication $20 a week. Okay, but $20 a week, every single week for the rest of your life. Tapping. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
There was one thing you said before, like, I wanted to elaborate a bit more on about how to avoid these things.
Yes.
So, like, you said fruit shops, butchers.
Shop local.
I mean, obviously shop organic if you can, if it's in the budget. There's also another way to look at it, I would say too, is like, what can you do environmentally and physically to nullify it? Like things around the house, like the cleaning products you use. Like what can we do to at least reduce? Because here's the reality. Look, we're all going to get exposed to chemicals and toxins. It's the nature of modern world, unfortunately. Now, it is not good. That shouldn't be normalized, but we have to live with it until things change. But who knows what's going to happen with that? So I think, having a look at your cleaning products around the house. Yeah. Like, like a lot of what you can clean with is like white wine vinegar.
White vinegar.
Everything.
Cleaning vinegar, white vinegar, like it works for most things.
Most things. There's no real need for like crazy chemicals and bleaches.
But even soaps and stuff, like a lot of the time.
Even that, like even if you're not willing to go the full like hippie way, I mean, you can at least go mid ground and look for things that are at least making an effort to make the quality better.
If you want to make a big change in your household for your health, switch to filtered water.
Yeah, filtered water.
That's probably the easiest thing you could do.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can tell the difference when you drink it as well.
I even noticed Ronnie, my dog, he's hesitant to drink the tap water. When he's here, he's straight to the water. Yeah. Like they know.
Actually,
I don't have the filter.
That's funny. Scarlett, my dog, same thing. She won't drink the water from outside. She drinks the water from inside.
It's like it tastes quality. It's completely different.
Oh man.
Because you're literally, when you're drinking, like I think it was on the news actually the other day when they talked about like Sydney tap water now is actually toxic. It's
officially been claimed as unsafe to drink.
You can't drink it anymore. Yeah. It's actually it's disgusting.
It needs to be filtered. So look, if we rattle off a list there, things you could do to make instant improvements into your health. One, shop local.
Yep.
Shop local. Go find a good butcher that you like. Build a relationship with them.
Yep.
Get your food from there.
Yep.
Some things, yeah, you're gonna look at it. It's gonna be way more expensive. If you're buying eye fillets, it's an expensive cut of meat. But you can still do it on a budget. You can still get really good, high quality stuff, and without blowing the budget.
Even the worst cuts are sometimes, well, they are better when they come from a butcher as well too. Even like the ones that like
Yeah.
even chuck, for example, like it's fatty, you wouldn't really like, but it's still going to be better quality, right?
It's still better. Bresner Hands Immortal. That's the recommendation right
Get
there.
it, Nick.
I can't go back. I can't go anywhere else. Fruit shops as well. And if you are going to the main supermarkets, fine. Try sticking to the outer aisles. Like, don't go in the aisles. That's where a lot of food products are. Stick to the outside.
Woolies have that, but I've got to look at them a bit more because I want to see how they're doing things. About Macro, they have their organic version,
Depends
which
where you go.
it is. Look,
Better.
It's better.
Mid ground, but it's fine.
That's what I mean. That's sometimes just making, even if it's not the full like organic but making a better choice. That's still going to
It's a step in the right direction. And then our third one there is the filtered water. That's such a simple change in your household because it gets rid of all those heavy metals. It's huge.
So people talk about boiling water. So boiling water does get rid of like bacteria,
Yes.
but it doesn't get rid of the metals.
Yes.
So that's the issue with the metals. This is like linking to what we're talking about with affecting hormonal production.
Yes.
When you start adding plastics and metals into the body, they have hormonal like effects to them. Like for example, like plastics have I think there's like 4 or 5 different types of estrogens attached to it.
Yeah.
That when they enter the body basically attaches to them and starts using them as a hormonal production. But it's synthetic and it's not accurate data that the body needs. And this is where it leads to issues. Like we're seeing a lot of like men, for example, if I have a little tangent here, it's like a very common gynecomastia.
Yeah.
And that like male breast tissue. Like if you've got a little bit of hard lumps here on your nipples, you probably got gynecomastia, which is an increase in estrogen through men. This is the soy boy talk. It is what it is. Cop it. Soy boy talk is like, when you have a lot of soy, we're talking about here, a lot of estrogen based on those foods, you will have a higher estrogen count. Now, men, we're not supposed to have high estrogen count. We shouldn't be highly emotional and feeling our emotions and being hyper feminine and all this. That is elements of, we're going to have both. That's what men do. But that's not a normal thing because that goes back to what I was saying before. Right? When we have men with high estrogen, just say, for example, in a little specific microscope, if we look at this little section here, if you have men with high estrogen, well, your testosterone drops. You become more risk averse. You're less likely to do, right? This has dramatic effects on things. And then people like that come to the gym or they struggle in work situations or even social settings. It's like, that's not normal. Well, that shouldn't be normalized, to be honest.
The other thing too, like you hear testosterone, you think of this macho guy walking around with
That's
his
not
chest
it at
puffed
all.
out. That's not testosterone.
That's not testosterone at all.
Like it's unhealthy for men to have low testosterone. It's not a good thing.
Andrew Tate
and they're going to be depressed.
Yeah, Andrew Tate ruined what people think masculinity is. That's not masculinity. That's fake masculinity. That whole red pill like macho, testosterone, fight and be, but that's not masculinity to me. And a good strong man is a father.
Yeah.
A dad that's a man that's providing for his family. He's got a good work. He cares for his family and he's raising his kids. He's strong and stern. He can still show emotion and love, but he's also the protector and can do what that's what testosterone gives us, right?
Yeah.
And I say that and people think that sounds like an old 1950s traditional. No, that's actually how humans are. That's how we're supposed to be, but we can't do that anymore because we have so many things destroying our body.
Yes, which is going into the microplastics, metals, that sort of thing, and just generally the body kind of getting disrupted.
That's literally what it is. It's disruptors. There's so many disruptors here.
So again, easy way, if you don't want to go down the rabbit hole and go into all the detail, it's buying organic as much as you can, grass as much as you can, avoiding food products as much as you can, and just sticking more to like real foods. Shop local, support your local businesses, that sort of thing is a very good step. And we mentioned the filtered water as well. It sounds like such a minuscule thing, but hey, easy win, take it. Take the easy win.
It's massive. Because that's when you start doing that, that's when the main topic, what we're talking about here, resilience can start to be built. Like you can't build resilience if you don't have the building blocks to it. How can you build a house if you have no bricks? Right? You can't. And that's a big thing. So like when you see, like when we start training people, like a lot of the changes that we make at the start is just food quality changes. And that's where I start to see already a massive shift in people's mindsets.
Well,
massively.
You look at how most people are eating day to day that we encounter. They're skipping breakfast.
Mhm.
Then once they're starving, they'll have a lunch. The lunch is carb heavy, very low protein. Maybe in between they've had coffees, coffees with sugar in it. They're just not fueling their body, and then by the end of the day, maybe they've eaten twice. Maybe they've splurged at dinner because they were so hungry.
Yep.
It's not really a routine that optimizes energy. So that's why they're kind of lacking.
Well,
so
they're not
much.
fueling their body, but they
No.
are fueling their stress.
They're fueling their stress.
Massively, because you're
And-
feeding cortisol on every stress reaction when you do things that way.
Yeah.
And then this is also where when you're highly stressed, well, you're not going to have resilience because the chaos is already ensued in the body.
Yes.
How can you regain? The fire's started.
Well, you're fighting your physiology.
Yeah, you
Right.
can't control the mind with the mind.
Yes.
You cannot do that. It's very difficult. You control the mind through body actions.
As opposed to when you're in a good routine where you're eating protein-based meals, you're eating frequently, you're fueling the body correctly. As soon as you see people change this food quality and just kind of time their meals better, but also organize their meals better, you naturally see a big shift in energy levels, right?
Oh, massive.
Stress comes down, energy comes up, sleep improves.
Mm.
You're going to be a more functional human just with those changes.
100%.
And it really, calorie-wise, probably not even looking at much of a difference there.
The other thing is too, I just thought of as well, is like when you're eating these higher quality foods, you're getting so much more nutrients out of it.
Yeah.
Like,
What you need.
like for example, you actually might get decent doses of magnesium in certain foods.
Of course.
Like if you look at black rice, for example, a high dose of magnesium in it, but like an organic versus a non-organic, the difference, like if we were to measure it, like go through a microscope, break it all down, and which is a hard process, you would definitely see in the organic food how much more value you're getting out of it.
Yeah, but even when you're using a higher quality rice, like a black rice or a red rice,
Blah,
blah 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 blah
blah,
blah
blah,
blah 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 blah. There's also there's more B vitamins in there too, which
100%.
is also energy giving.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're eating food products, you're not going to have those micronutrients that are involved in energy production.
Yeah, like
Basically.
that's again going back to a couple of the
And
last few
minerals
things.
and everything
This
like
is
that,
why if it fits your macros, doesn't work.
But this is
Doesn't work.
also why just focusing on hormones doesn't work and just eating, overindulging.
Yep.
In that sense doesn't work too. Because yes, if you blow into a surplus, of course you're not going to lose weight. But if you're in this, if it fits your macros and you're just in a deficit eating whatever the hell you want, that's not going to work either. The two need to come together. In one optimal scenario would have that's a long-term solution to your health.
Yes.
Is when you bring that together, you fit it in a way where you can stick to it. It's realistic, not idealistic, and you can stick to that long term.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the word to be around what you got to do with everything here is just adaptability.
Adaptability is good.
Yeah, because I think like what we're saying is there's a lot of information, and I see it a lot of the time. You drop all the information, and it's like, well, how do I like organize this and make it usable for me?
Where do I start?
Well, that's the thing with it. It's like even how I view programming. Like I know, if you go the more nuanced and deeper you go with programming, you will notice that a fixed program it's very hard to follow.
Training program.
Yeah, because it's not like that's why I have like a multiple movement selection on what I'm doing, right?
Yes.
Because you're not doing the same thing every day,
Yeah.
and that's one thing I think people have to understand as well too. Like you have to be adaptable. You're not going to always get to train at the time you want. You won't always get to eat the foods that you want, and you've just got to work through that and understand those little peaks and troughs. I think that's a big one. I think everyone's always on the pursuit of happiness, and they use food as a measurement of happiness. Eat what I want because I love this. This tastes good. Yeah, but sometimes you have to eat the boring thing and do what you need to do to get the result, to get what you're trying to achieve in that long format dopamine thing, which is again what we were talking about last week of everything's short term. Well, even just to get what we're talking about here, to get the result out of it, well, it is a long format thing. You're going to have to be adaptable.
I think yeah. It's interesting though, because even today, like you talk about resilience and like not wanting to do things. I mean, you didn't sleep last night.
No, I lost my wallet.
I'm having like
inside a machine.
some sort of allergy face is exploding sort of thing.
He's lying.
Here.
He got punched in the face, sparring too much, and he couldn't handle it.
How dare you?
Just saying, it's not true.
Do we have to get the gloves right?
We'll do a little sparring session.
Cut.
No
Come
cut,
back.
no
Just
cut.
bleeding.
We're going to film this. I'm going to show everyone what's up.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, well,
completely
look,
lost
I'm
my train of
hooked. My brain's barely working right now, and I have which everyone already could tell, I have severe ADHD. So when I don't sleep, it is very difficult to navigate conversation. But like, here's an example of my mindset of what I had today. I'm sure you had the same one. It's like, I'm like, okay, well, I'm tired. I'm not feeling the best today. I've got to be on for the potty, but I'm not at my best. I'm going to challenge myself to see if I can do this to the standard I can that I usually uphold when I'm tired. So I'm going to overdo it a little bit today. I'm going to push real hard to get this done. And that's sometimes the mindset you got to have. Again, being adaptable.
Yeah.
On the day.
Yeah, I think people just fear the unknown a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of resilience. Like, they don't go through with it because they're thinking so much. And this is anxiety, I guess. It's your mind's always in the future.
Never present.
You're not present. So, like, if you're always thinking about what's going to happen, you're anxious. If you're always thinking about what's already happened, you're depressed. You got to be present.
That's my favorite one. You know what I say to people when they're always anxious and they're thinking about the future? I ask them this simple question, like, oh, I didn't know you could read the future.
Yeah, you're a mystic.
Are you a mystic? You can read the future? Because last I knew, like, humans, mostly, unless you're me, can't predict the future.
Yeah. Well, look, even like having a conversation this morning with a client, not sure, like, what happened. The question was, what happens if in 3 weeks I'm not enjoying my training? I was like, well, why do you think of it like that? What happens in 3 weeks if you're loving your training?
Yeah.
What does that look like? Because they're equally possible, right? But we're so quick to focus on the negative and to kind of stay. When we spoke about discomfort last week, but stay with the discomfort that we already know rather than the new discomfort, which can be exciting.
It's funny how everyone's anxious mind always jumps straight to the negative, but that shows a lack of resilience too.
You know what?
Because like, to me, like that is, I'm scared to fail, and I'm scared. I'm, like you said, scared of the unknown, but that comes back to the strength and resilience there. Like if you're functioning hormonally on all cylinders, your perception will, not by you doing it, will change.
Yeah.
When you have more, like as a man, if you have more testosterone in you, you won't think that way.
No.
Straight up.
No.
Like
you're
just
more willing to take on the challenge and see what happens.
Yeah, like
like
we've said this heaps of times, testosterone makes effort feel good.
Yeah. It does.
So if effort's not feeling good hormonally, but again, and you think, oh, well, my hormones are probably fine. Well, take a step back and look at the habits. How do you sleep? How do you eat? Right? Maybe your hormones are fine.
But do you want to be fine or do you want to be optimal? You want to be optimal. You want to be at your best, and you can't always be optimal, but you want to shoot.
Let me throw another question. Even another one. Besides optimal's great.
Yeah.
But I always say this. I've always had this kind of thing. Imagine you go through life and you haven't hit your peaks and seeing what you're capable of. You never know.
Yeah.
Because you've never been at full health. You've never had built your physique to the level. You've never built your brain up to the level. So you don't know what you could have achieved.
Yeah.
But for me, that scares me.
You mentioned Steph earlier. Her testimonial was awesome. Right at the end, the last thing she says at the end is like, 3 months can literally change your life. 3 months can literally change your life, and you see it. And that doesn't even mean you're at your end goal with things, but like the amount of progress you can make if you manage your attention, you have that dedicated time to that task or that outcome that you want. 3 months can be huge.
You know, I think a big one with her, just continuing on with what she has, that's really good, is a lot of self-awareness.
Yeah, that's really important.
Just having the self-awareness. So again, this links to what we're talking about before, the resilience, everything, and what George is saying there. But like, when you have the awareness of, like, take a look back and look at some of the excuses you make of why you're not doing something. Just take a like objectively invert. Look at something and go, really, is that like I'm trying to think. I can't think on the spot right now. Or someone said something to me. I'm like why they couldn't train, and I was just like, you hear what you're like saying here, right? But again, that comes from a lack of self-awareness of going, hey, I'm actually struggling with the task you've given me here. Like, I need to train 4 times a week, but 1 is so hard for me. We have the ego. We can't admit and go to the person, hey, this is too hard for me. Because they're like embarrassed or think that someone's going to, it's like, no. Yeah. That, to me, that's like, I respect people so much that have, because that's courage, that's strength, dude. Yeah. If you can sit there and go, man, I can't, even if it seems something that you should be able to do, like train once a week, and that's too hard for you, there's strength there going, hey, I can't, that's too much. Yeah. So then we go, okay, cool, why can't we? Let's navigate, let's what's happening? Because there's always a reason. There's always something that's happening there that's causing a breakdown. No human, like the exception does not define the rule, but no human is born broken, right? They're not born to set up to like, okay, I can't do anything. You're born with your feet splayed out. You're not born with your feet destroyed. You know what I mean? You're primed, ready to go. Yeah, exactly. But we destroy ourselves along the way.
Yeah.
We actually start better and get worse. Is what's happening now.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's not. That's
It's interesting when you put it that way.
Yeah, but that's kind of how it is. But again, that's a lack of self-awareness. And I think a big thing that has been normalized in society, again, I talked about this last week, is not taking critique. Like, again, this is resilience. If you have resilience, you can take critique and use it as it's a valuable, like, it's money, it's currency. Like, you're telling me exactly what I need to do to be better.
Yeah.
Mad. I'm going to do that and use
That's
it.
attitude, though. That is attitude. And if you surround yourself with people who kind of lie to you and just make you feel good, tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear, it's going to be like that. Yeah, like to bring up like Mark again and like mentoring, like I'll go to him and I'll be like, look at this, look at my website. He'll be like, it's shit. it's terrible. What's terrible about it? Tell me. He's like, this sucks. But he knows he can do that with me. I'm like, cool, tell me how to make it better. Okay, done. Let's go.
Yeah,
It's like, thank you.
Now, if he was to say, no, it's great, would you have helped you? No, that's that's toxic positivity. I've got a perfect example of it. When I started losing my hair, I remember I used to go ask people, am I going bald? No, it's fine. You got heaps of hair. You're fine. Okay, great. But I was going bald. So if you just said, hey, yeah, you are losing your hair, I could have maybe done something about it to prevent it. But no, that's fine. Because people are so scared about hurting your feelings. No, I don't care. I'm strong. You can tell me, yeah, hey, Brandon, George, the way you're sitting, I don't like it. I think you should sit better. It looks a bit more professional. Like, what's wrong with that? You know, that...
You hurt my feelings.
I'm going to go crying now anyway.
No, I told you that. I told you should just go bald.
It is. But again, you were like...
Everyone lied to
you. I remember you were like, yeah, your hair's going thin. I remember, like, when I was asking people, we were one of the only ones that were like, yeah, your hair is going a bit thinner at the top. I'm like, oh, yeah.
I was like, dude, shave it off and get jacked. Yeah. The look will suit you.
But the takeaway there is you gave me honesty, and I was like, okay, great. I appreciate the honesty. Because to me, it's like if you say to someone, like, hey, like if you're getting affirmated on what you're doing, but it's not actually good, well, they're lying to you.
Yeah.
That's disingenuous.
I don't want that.
No, that's also like this is the crazy.
You don't have to be mean about it.
Well, it's like no, you don't have to be mean about it. But like again, critique is not mean. We need to raise the bar of what is hatred and what is critique, right? Because they blend it together, but it's very different.
Very different. I think when it comes with like good intention and the person genuinely just wants to help you and see you benefit, then yeah, like it can sound. If it's hard to hear, man. You're the one in the situation.
If the shoe fits, it's sometimes that. But again, that's not what the person's saying. If someone says something to you and it rings true, and you're getting frustrated at them for saying it, that is also showing why you need to hear this.
Yeah,
because that reaction is not just. That person's going, hey, I care enough to get in the mud here, challenge our friendship or our relationship to tell you what you need to hear because I care enough to want you to do better.
Yeah.
Whereas us going like, okay, let's say, for example, you're not eating food, you're not training. It's okay, I'll just train you, keep taking your money, I don't care, whatever. Yeah, it's fine, you're fine. No. That's disingenuous.
It is.
Right? And people go, but that's what we've normalized in society. It's like, oh, don't say anything bad to anyone because you're... No, that's ridiculous.
But it's not bad. It's not saying anything bad. It's you're trying to help, and sometimes 100%. Helping means hearing the hard truth.
But also, too, what's happened, and I believe this to be massively true, is that because we have such a lack of resilience, critique is just, it's bullying me, it's hatred. It's like, come on, man.
But it's also, the one person who tells you the truth compared to the 20 others who are telling you what you want to hear.
Yeah, I think on that
it's hard because this is the weird one.
Sorry, Mark. Again, you have to have room for both. You got to have room for both those people, man. Another Mark quote. You just, man, look, I'm just going to have a little tangent. Mark has some of the best quotes. I've said this to his face as well, too. You come up with some one-liners that are just utterly ridiculous, and then you can't not use them.
He says it in a room full of people, but it feels like he's talking to you.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's like, did you say that to me?
The man of one-liners. Yeah, man of one-liners.
He's taken all the good words, he's taken all the good quotes.
Yep.
Mark, good on you.
I wish I was good at that, but anyway.
Thanks for the trophy.
Anyways,
back.
Now, where was we?
You were quoting Mark for the thousandth time.
I just had my tired brain kick in. I lost my ADHD train.
How good's our sign?
I really have to admit, I do. I think the sign makes the podcast like it's elevating it so much more. It looks so much more professional than what we actually are.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. It's making up for a lot of
like people don't understand how hard I'm struggling here to censor myself. Like I'm like, I've got to watch every move I say because we know what I'm like. We know what Brandon's like. I do like to just say what I think.
Well, you haven't had any major rants because Daniel hasn't activated the light yet today. So
Well, no, because the rants come. You have to be, young Daniel. You do have to be ready for those. If you see when I do this, right? If I put the laptop down, I'm like, that's when you hit the light because you know it's coming.
boom,
Right?
hit the lights.
Just one of these days, it's gonna
Next
happen.
time, theme music
Yeah. Oh,
and bagel.
I want my bagel and I want my theme music on.
Which one is it? Oh,
I feel pressured to.
It's that one.
To rant. Y'all lack resilience. Y'all need to get stronger. That's why.
you know what? I think we've spoken about this already, but whatever. Resilience, I think a big part of it is gratitude as well.
Yep.
And by gratitude, what I mean with that is people who are ungrateful are also normally quite negative. So they're always looking at the negative. So it's very easy to find the wrong scenario and focus on like the unknown, but the wrong part of the unknown. Like, okay, I'm going to start training, but what if it doesn't work? That's the negative. Whereas people who are grateful have a more positive mindset. They're like, I'm going to start training. How well can this go? What can I accomplish in this time period? Imagine I can do this. What else can happen if I could do? Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, gratitude practice is pretty important too, I find, when you have issues with resilience.
Do you think the big thing there, this is what we'll talk about young Daniel, a fear of failure?
I think people do fear failure quite a lot. I think
Why?
I think it's not just failure, but it's also judgment, whether that's from themselves or from others.
Isn't that interesting though? Because we live in the first time in society where like judgment and critique's not allowed. So then, why do people scared of failure?
I think just for perception, like how people
It's a weird
perceive
one.
them. Like, oh man, like everything I've ever done, I've failed like so much more than I've succeeded at.
But that's how you learn.
Like, that's like is that not how you do
That's
things?
literally how you learn. Like when you first learn to ride a bike, you don't just start riding it. You fall. You need training wheels. That's the first. Like that's a good little thing in life.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, like that's one of your first little adversities that you face, like learning to ride a bike or learning to swim or something. You're not going to just do it straight. I mean,
No
you
way.
still can't swim, for example.
I can sort of float.
If I put you in a pool right now, a deep pool where you couldn't touch the floor, and I walked away, would you feel comfortable?
Dude, I would hit the bottom, right? I would power up and I would jump out of the pool.
You'll close your. This is the water.
Dude, all right, first of all, how about this? You want to go, George can't swim well. All right, you try having my nose, okay? It's an anchor in the pool, first of all, so it sinks you. Hold on. Look at it. It's big. It's crooked, and you might be like, oh, George can probably breathe really well, though. No, I got kicked in the face, and I can't
George is
breathe properly.
about to get a physics lesson. So if anyone understands physics, it's actually bigger people float better.
I'm not big
More
enough.
mass
My nose is big.
floats better because there's more weight. When
It's
there's
an
no
anchor.
weight, that's what sinks
Why do you chuck an anchor into the water?
because it's dead weight.
Dead weight.
That's not dead weight.
It's dead
It's
weight.
hollow.
You don't know that.
That's physics.
You don't know my nose.
George needs to go back.
I
to
know my
school.
nose. You don't know my
Just do
nose.
backstroke. It'd be like a fin.
Yeah,
This fucking-
exactly right.
This guy.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, but if I backstroke, people think
Also,
a shark was coming after them.
It's not an anchor. Let's test this. Let's throw you in the ocean and let's see what happens. I guarantee you.
Do you want me to die? Yeah.
No, I definitely don't want you to die, but I do
It'd be
enjoy
kind
you.
of funny, though.
I do enjoy watching you suffer, but more in a way of
I
like,
kind of enjoy it too.
yeah, but it's more in a way like you need this.
I suffer plenty.
Yeah, but you need it.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, well, I
Also,
think-
back to failure.
Yeah.
Mind you, we tried to do this podcast like 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's true. That was failure.
We failed that. It happens.
That didn't even look as like when I think about it too. There was no emotion. Oh, that sucked.
It was just
I
like,
was
oh,
like,
we
I
got
just
it
didn't
wrong.
like it. That was crap. Let's do it again.
But also, it's like, we got it wrong. We got to do the setup differently.
Yeah,
And
we just
learned.
did it, and
right?
we got the greatest setup of all time.
And we have young Daniel.
We got young
We have
Daniel.
young Daniel.
Young
Oh, no,
Daniel.
I think what you said is important, though. Like, the failure is, I think, what they're avoiding. I think they're worried about what people think about them. I think they're worried about how they think about themselves for a lot of people. It's like, if I fail this, like, what am I? Like, that hurts my ego. We've touched ego a lot.
That's it. Okay, there's something there. That's good. So putting value on yourself as a person, as your actions, your status, your job, and the things that you do. People don't put value on what they offer as a human being.
Yeah.
I think it's a big thing. It's like I need to have the job, have the body before
Yeah.
people will like me. It's like, okay,
What are you without that?
but also one day, this is something people don't think about. You're gonna age one day.
Yeah.
It's like young women, they put all their value on their beauty and they don't work on their brains. Okay, that's good. It's great to be beautiful. I understand it's nice and all that. But what happens when, this is harsh, I'm going to swallow this one, but when you start aging and now you don't have your beauty anymore, but you haven't worked on yourself as a person or gained any
Yeah.
skills.
If that's
What
all
do
you're
you-
relying
Yeah,
on.
what do you have to offer, right? But that goes back to just as an example of why you don't want to put value on
Just that alone. Yeah.
actions to make yourself as a person. Like build up who you are as a
Yeah.
a really strong person is like someone who still has self-confidence, has a lack of insecurities, but let's say they're not really that far in life yet. That's just actually a strong person.
Yeah.
Because they're just
working
like,
on it.
well, they're working on themselves and stuff like that. But it's like that strength that will accumulate to wealth and growth naturally, because it's just the way it is, right? But it's also because that person's just cruising by. They're not anxious. They're not rushing to have the landmarks achieved, right? I kind of did that. Like I was always kind of just like, I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. I want to do it my way. And I was patient and just floated around. I was talking about this conversation with a client this morning, like how many people they fall into that life trap of they get married. Well, it is a bit maybe older generations, but you get married young, have kids young, and do all the things in your mid-20s. But then when you need when you need to build and now do things, it's like, well, now you have a family and a wife to look after. How are you going to do that at the same time?
Yeah.
And it's like,
hard.
like it should kind of be flipped, where it's like, well, you do it all in your 20s, and then later in life you want to kind of build yourself up. But that's kind of what I'm alluding to, is that when you focused on the job or have to have abs to create an identity of who you are, I say you need to create an identity without those things. And then those things come as a byproduct.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
If that's the whole, but again, that ties into those models of losing weight and getting healthy. If it's all that fits your macros, that's all it is.
Yeah, again, it goes back to what I said in the first point. It's vanity.
Yeah.
That's not what it should be about.
Check out episode 1 of the GT Fit podcast for that.
Yes.
Episode 1, young Daniel.
Episode 1.
Plug that in. Yeah,
it's not bad.
I had something and I lost it.
Oh, no.
And it's gone forever.
Speaking about gone forever.
You're just watching Simpsons.
No, I accidentally just deleted one of my files.
Yes, gratitude. That's what I was saying. Gratitude's important.
Take the mic, George, while I quickly fix
Gratitude is huge.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Why is gratitude huge, George?
So when people are more grateful, they're happier with less, right? So it's like what you said, like you need all these big shiny things to be fulfilled. I find that people who are more grateful and practice gratitude, they're just happier with those wins. It's a bit simpler, and they have a more positive outlook on things. So rather than looking for the negatives, day to day they're looking for the positives, or with the unknown, like we said, they're more likely to look at the positive potential of what could happen, rather than like how they could spiral, be embarrassed and fail. And failure is not a big deal to them either. Not as much of a deal with it.
You know what's fascinating to me is like something you just said there too, is that when you go to countries where they don't have a whole lot, they're a lot happier. Like they're so much happier than anyone I see in modern.
It's incredible.
Like go to Thailand a lot. There's obviously very poor parts of Thailand, and there's also very beautiful. God, I miss Thailand. But that's my homeland. But anyway,
they're happier with less.
They're so much happier. Even Fiji. Fiji was the big one. I mean, like you can go past people in like shacks.
Yeah,
they are so happy.
Yeah,
but there's also because they're just in touch with nature and just the natural course of what a human should kind of be, and they're not having interference with phones, technology, social media, all this rat race of status and career and all this stuff. It's just they're just doing what humans were meant to be doing, and they're so happy, but they have nothing. Yeah, and it's like, it's crazy. It's fascinating. And, well, it's like that thing, like money won't make you happy and whatever else. Like what is it? It's like making $400,000 a year upwards. You don't notice any quality of life changes.
Kind of a lot of the same after that. Yeah,
but I mean, like it's fascinating that like people go that whole race chasing after that and never really have gratitude over what they're doing, and they never realize that they're winning. But it's like, again, you look at someone who lives in a shack in a third world country and they're happier than you. Yeah. So like really like what like
we overcomplicate life, I think.
Way too much. But I think that's what it is. Is like I've got something cooking here, but I can't quite get it out. It's like, don't be scared to fall in between the lines. Don't like think you have to just like follow the what everyone else is doing because that's what society tells you to. Why? Like but what I'm getting at here, this is how you stay healthy and happy, is because you're doing what you need to be doing, not what you're forced to be doing. Because if you're forced to be doing something because you've fallen into a situation like, let's say, you got married at 20 and then you've got 5 kids and now you're going to make ends meet, but you're 20, you've got no skills and you've got no career, like, well, it's going to be a hard next 20 years of your life.
Hard struggle.
Right? And I think that's can avoid things like, not that they'll avoid it, but you can do things set up a little bit better in life. So you don't fall into these traps where you're like, okay, well, now I want to work on my health, but I've got 5 kids and I've got dance classes and Muay Thai and I got this and then I got to work and then I still got to go home and clean the house. And how also on that, how can you navigate getting health with someone when they're that stretched? It's like
Something's got to give.
well, you're so stretched out. It's like, I've got this one little section of you that I can use 10% of your personality here and energy, but I need all of it to get all this done, right? And then it's hard. It's difficult. So it's like why do we thrust ourselves into that scenario when it's clearly not good or
We're just
beneficial?
doing what we think we should be doing. I think a lot of people are just doing what the norm is or what they see, but they're not necessarily happy with it. But that's why, like, you lose that purpose, right? You're not doing what you really want to do. But even around health, man, like if you're eating everything that's advertised to you and marketed to you, you're not going to be a healthy person, even if it's a healthy product. Like it's a product. It's not real.
But people gravitate towards those foods as an example of whatever is easier. That's what I hear all the time. What's quick? What's easy? Because they're so time constrained because they have so many things dropped on them.
Yeah.
And then their resilience goes out the window because you got nothing left. Like what you should think about your body is like your calories are like a budget.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a budget. Every day you have a budget on how much you can spend. Now, I think people think calories is just around food and training. When you're thinking, when you're typing, when you're digesting food, when you're breathing, when you're fidgeting, you're using systems and calories. Yeah. So every day you only have a certain amount of energy that you can actually delegate based on what you're currently eating.
Yes.
So again, this goes back to what we talk about malnourishment and people not eating enough food. Well, it's like, well, if you're trying to work a 12-hour physical labor job and then train in the gym and then play with the kids after and then clean the house, it's like, okay, well, imagine if we calculate how much calories that would accumulate. That's well over 3,500 calories, just for example, something like that. Well over, depending on the size of the person that. But then person here, Mr. Citizen, is eating 2,000 calories.
Yeah,
like
that.
And then they're like, why am I tired? And why am I bloated? Why am I not getting results? Like,
you're not fueling your body.
Well,
you're not meeting your energy demands.
Yeah, and then but it shows there in that scenario why you don't want to fall into those scenarios, or if you are in one of those scenarios, don't put your work or those standards above what you need and what is needed to provide for your family or yourself. Like I always say to people, I don't have time to eat lunch at work. It's like, what, you think your work is more important than you eating food to stay alive?
How are you going to work?
Like, just say that out loud and just, like, not even just how you're going to work, but and what reality is eating food to stay alive less important than working a job for making, like, I don't know, you're designing T-shirts or something, or you're you know what I mean? Like, but again, like, that's a normalized thing that we have in it, where it's like, oh, I've got to work, my boss. It's like, I don't care what your boss says. Like, also, you're a worker, you have rights as well too. You're not allowed to not eat at work. That's also highly illegal. Just for one little side note, if anyone does have that thing when they think they can't eat at work,
can't eat till you're done.
Yeah, that's crazy. But like, I think it's kind of, is my point kind of coming out here?
I had a point there too, and I lost it.
We'll find it, George.
Cut. We are on.
We're on summarizing. So just to summarize again, just have a little takeaways of what
things
out
you
of
can
everything
action.
we spoke about here today. So I think just simple ones, so it's not overwhelming.
Yeah, like
is
food.
Food. So like what we were saying at the start there, if you can look at things to at least reduce things like foods that are heavily sprayed or where you're shopping. So if you know, maybe like say for example, like, okay, I'm very time constrained, I don't have, which I don't like this excuse, which we would fix anyway, but I don't have time to go to the butcher and the fruit shop. Okay, well maybe just go to the butcher for now, and then build up and get organised, eat better food, feel a little bit better, have a better perception. Now you'll find time to you have time to go to the fruit shop.
And on food, if a real simple framework to be a healthier person, eat food, not food products. Yeah, that's a big one. Don't ignore micronutrients. Yes, at all. Food, not food products. Just look at it and say, was this grown? Yeah. Was this an animal? If you're at work and you catch yourself going, what can I eat that's quick? No. Yeah. Don't go for quick products. Focus on food, not food. And if you haven't
then on that, and you're like, well, there's nothing. Okay, you need to be better organized.
Yes.
All right, simple as that. House products. Have a look at the amount of chemicals, how many different types of products you're using in the house.
Yeah.
I have 3 that I clean the entire house with, and my house is, if you know me, I'm severe OCD.
Life hack as well for the filter water.
Filter
easy,
water, massive.
easy health hack. Simple. Get a filter. Filtered water instantly improves your health.
Do a little of those. That alone, if you implemented
They're
those in
huge.
your life, you would already see a massive uptake in health. Given other factors.
And yeah, I'm gonna say on resilience as well.
Mm.
One, prioritize the things you need to do before you do the things you want to do, and that alone will start helping you just getting used to doing what.
Work first, play later.
Yeah.
We work hard, we play hard.
There's a Simpsons quote for everything. Everything has a Simpsons quote. And then look with the self-awareness. I think is important that you mentioned earlier. It's very dangerous to be unaware. This is where things happen to you, health-wise. If you're the type of person that is negative and you don't really focus on the positives, gratitude journaling.
Yep.
Like just write down every day. It will take you no time at all. 3 things that you're grateful for that day. Before you know it, you'll start looking for those things.
And don't normalize being negative like
Yes.
that. Just think if you find reflecting on yourself and challenging yourself is hard, good.
Yes.
You should feel that way. That's normal. Be comfortable being uncomfortable.
If you action this advice, what are the positive things you can get out of it? What are the
Exactly it.
positives? If you're that worried about the negatives, just get comfortable with them happening.
Yep.
Get comfortable with that. Be like, okay, it might not work. I might fail. I might waste some time.
And
Cool.
on that bombshell, should I display my mad switch kick now?
You don't have enough space for a switch kick.
You don't know that.
I do know that.
I'm out. Goodbye.
Brandon sucks. My switch kick is better than Brandon's switch kick. Don't tell him.
Oh, hey, Brandon. What's going on, man?
All right, get the
What's
gloves on,
happening?
we spar now.
My switch kick is better.